Hello, everyone, and welcome to Last Best Hope for Conversation, your podcast all about Babylon 5, where three friends are rewatching the series, two of them for the first time, one on multiple times. I am your veteran, Jesse. My two rookies are Lou,
Hello, everyone.
Karen,
Hello.
and we are in season 4, episode 3, The Summoning. Originally aired November 18th, 1996. And this was an interesting one. So let's do give me your quick thoughts, Lou.
Apparently, being dead is just merely a condition that you can recover from.
Right?
Yeah.
The reports of his death were greatly exaggerated.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. All right, Karen.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fast-paced episode. Enjoyable. I watched it twice and I didn't feel bored. There's that.
High praise indeed. Didn't feel bored.
Okay, look, I'll get into it.
No, I'm having fun. All right, Marcus, Susan was supposed to be in last episode. Her scene where she asked if she could borrow a White Star was filmed for last episode, but they ran out of time. So they
Okay.
put it on this time. So that is the reason why Susan was not in the previous episode.
You mean they didn't entertain removing the scene with Garibaldi with Susan's scene so that we don't get any Garibaldi in the episode?
No, Karen.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. So we get a fun little scene.
No,
where,
I'm not testing.
Yeah. Susan is all proud that she's been learning Minbari. Gave her something to do. I would have thought being head of a station and with your commander gone, you might be busy anyway. But we get the always fun trope of the person not realizing what they're saying. And we get Delenn telling Marcus, let the crew know if they laugh, they will answer to me.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus and Susan went looking for first ones, but found something else. So, Karen, talk about this a little bit.
Didn't they technically find first ones?
I guess that's the way to mention, yes.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed that storyline. I think it's weird that they left Delenn in charge of Babylon 5, but I understand what was going on. They felt like they needed to shore up a little bit and not only get this kind of higher power involved, but to reinforce the fact that they could win and it would maybe get all these other races on board. So it was a kind of a twofold situation. And I see where Susan thought it was a worthwhile mission. I also think it's funny that Marcus volunteered to go along because Susan seemed to be okay with going by herself. And they keep putting Marcus and Susan together, which I find amusing, but I get why. They're definitely doing a now kiss kind of thing between them. And I also thought the conversation between Susan and Marcus about their love lives was very interesting to find out that he's a virgin.
That had been
intriguing.
Confirmed. And in fact, the actor went to JMS and said, really?
Yeah.
And JMS is like, remember, you grew up in a planet that didn't have a lot of people.
Okay, yeah.
Then you were in the Ranger training,
right,
where there wasn't a lot of opportunity. And he says, really?
So not a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
And just, I guess, not caring enough.
Yeah.
To do it. Yeah.
Supposedly, according to JMS, he still complains at conventions.
They made him a
Marcus.
virgin?
Yes.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
But I also like how he's definitely, it's another trope. He's definitely talking about Susan to her. He's in love with her. There's no doubt about it in my mind. So he's talking about it. I hope she wants something, and I'm slow playing it, essentially, is what he's saying to her. And I thought that was actually very sweet. And I think Susan's reaction would be what all of our reactions are, to say, huh? So apparently, as well as the actor. So yeah, I liked that storyline. There are some little nits with it. It's not really the best time to be leaving, but I don't know. I'm okay with it. And for them to find, and I'm guessing they're Vorlons. They look like Vorlon ships to me. Do they confirm that at the end of the episode that it's Vorlons? Okay.
I
So,
think so. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. And it looks like the Vorlons are up to many bad things.
Yeah.
So, am I justified
Yeah. We're going
now
to talk about that in a minute.
in
So,
my Vorlon
absolutely.
hate?
Yes. I was going to cover that in a minute. So, put a
Okay.
pin on that. We'll come back.
Okay.
Yeah. I did love that she couldn't stop the dig of unicorn. Yeah. When the censor,
Yeah.
like, what? Oh, never mind. Lou, what do you think of the search for first ones?
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting switch on the dynamics of the Vorlons being more hands off. What would you call it? Position on the whole conflict, and something has been triggered, whether it was because of Sinclair's trip to Zadoom or whatever. But now they're becoming active participants in the conflict, which is surprising.
And listeners, he meant Sheridan.
Sorry, Sheridan. And don't name your characters with the first letter, please.
I
Oh, it's
agree.
so freaking
We've
annoying.
established that. Yes, I
Yes,
agree.
Sheridan, I think, has triggered this. But I don't know exactly how yet. And what their end game is now is I'm lost on that. So that's interesting. And this is being underlined by the relationship between the telepath and what's the new Vorlon, the new Kosh. It's a much more
Old Cash.
Old Cash, yeah. It's a much more antagonistic relationship, and we were actually seeing some hostility or lack of sensitivity from the Vorlon with her. So it's I don't know if they're becoming like the second kind of villains in this shadow Vorlon first order, first people races or whatnot. So I'm intrigued as to why they're becoming much more active, and looking forward to seeing what that's all about.
So, Karen, I wanted to point out that when I watched Babylon 5 the first time, I really thought that Kosh was part of the Army of Light, and that the Vorlons were the angels, pardon the pun, and shadows were the devils.
Right.
So when I heard that at the end of this episode, we see this Vorlon fleet in hyperspace, and we find out that they destroyed a planet, not a city, not a tactical military display. They destroyed a whole planet because the shadows had been there. And as Franklin mentioned, you pull out the tumorous cells, and if like when the cancer cells, and if you get some good cells around it, so what? That's okay. But in this case, it's millions of people.
Right.
I was honestly shocked. I can't believe this is happening. So one of the things I really have loved that I couldn't comment on is from the beginning, I'm not so sure about this Vorlon guy. And so I think that well done, and it pays off really well here.
Thank you.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, they're dicks. I've said that the whole time.
You have.
That I just thought a lot of it was that they were vague. They weren't helping when they were supposed to be helping. And now I really get it, that as soon as something, and I don't know what happened, what their turning point was, but is it that they just saw an opportunity now that Zadoom has been decimated to jump in and conquer everything? But whatever their turning point was, they became what they really are. Isn't that's your base instinct to do whatever? And there's thousands of Vorlon ships waiting for something. They're in a fold in space. They're hiding. And I felt pretty justified at that point. I'm sorry, I'm coughing. Yeah, I felt super justified that they really were the bad guy too. There doesn't always have to be one bad guy and one good guy. And especially in a arc like this that's over 5 seasons, we can have many bad guys and good guys. Uh, I felt pretty good about it. Bad, but good.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It totally does. Lou, how about you?
Yeah, I think I've already made that point, so I don't
Okay.
really
Okay.
think I
Yeah.
have anything
No.
to add.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. No problem.
sorry.
No. So, yeah, I thought that was, as I said, I was really surprised. The other thing I wanted to share is let's talk a little bit about Lita, the way she's being treated. And by the way, I wanted to share that he knew there are times JMS says when he wrote things, he knew how it would come across. For example, Andreas hated the jester hat that Jakar had to wear and wanted JMS to take it off. And he knew that it looks ridiculous, and that's the point, right? He said, but I'm going to quote, in other instances, Horror was the last person to figure things out. I wandered onto the set when they were preparing to shoot the scene with Lita and Ulkesh, also Kosh too, and found Patricia Tallman sitting by the set getting touch-up to her makeups. Entering subtext, the Lita's line, Pat said, where she says, you didn't have to pull out of me so fast, you hurt me. And then how he's so much more hard than Kosh was. I looked at her. She looked at me. I looked at her. I don't get it. She folded her arms and looked at me. I looked at her. Oh, you're blushing, she said. Hadn't even occurred to me. I can change it if you want. No, she said, laughing. It's fine just as it is. I mumbled something and headed back to my office and illuminating the hallway a bright red as I went. 12 years old. I swear some days I'm 12 freaking years old.
Yeah.
I did not catch that till I read that. And then when I rewatched, I went, oh yeah, that's pretty blatant.
I tittered a little.
So let's talk a little. Delenn wants her to push. First off, Susan and Delenn both are shocked that he is treating her so poorly. And then, or they, not sure on the genders of Vorlons. And they are truly, this new Kosh, as you say, Karen, is nothing but a dick, just an asshole.
Yeah.
So any thoughts on that? And I just thought it was interesting to see how Lita is being treated. Either one.
Lou, you want to?
Go ahead, Karen.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It looks painful, the special effects they use. And we've seen that Lita is being used by Ulkesh, but now it's made clear that she is really just being used for whatever Ulkesh needs. Ulkesh. I'm going to call him Ulkesh.
I love it. Even though he's the new Kosh, we're going to call him the old Kosh.
He's both. Yes. I think that he is strengthened because he is this dual personality thing. And I feel like now I'm a little worried now that Sheridan's back because we know he has a part of Kosh in him. And what is Ulkesh going to do about that? I feel like they should get this guy off the station ASAP.
All right.
This guy as an
Ulkesh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's very disturbing to see how he's treating her. And that sort of goes back to the point I was making before about the Vorlons seem to be turning into the bad guys as well. So I'm really intrigued about where this is all going to go. And the fact that they had that, I didn't think there was that many Vorlons left, but they seem to have a pretty big fleet. So that was also a bit of a shocker as well. And that one super big ship, which apparently is a planet-killing capable ship. Exactly. And if their mission is to go out and remove any trace of the shadows, even from worlds where they've been but no longer are, and whatever life is on that planet is just collateral damage, that's pretty scary. So does this mean now that the Babylon 5 has to fight not just the shadows, but the Vorlons as well? So yeah, there's a lot of implications of what this episode has set forth.
At the very least, they'll be coming from Mars. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Maybe Earth too.
Yeah.
maybe, yeah, whether they know that or not. And I feel like you mentioned how we thought that there weren't that many Vorlons left, and there seems to be a lot. I think they were hiding, just waiting for their opportunity. That's the feeling I get from it. So I think they were meaning to lulling us into a false sense of security.
Yeah, and I wonder if they're rare to see them. So we didn't know how many were in the Vorlon homeworld. They talked about the Vorlon homeworld. They don't allow people to visit. So that may be one of these where we don't know how many there are. And so we'll have to see. All right, so we get Garibaldi back. So I am always lately, since this turn about the third season, where you both going, why don't they like Michael Garibaldi?
Mm-hmm.
I am now always intrigued by what you guys are going to say. Let's talk about it. Lou, as the number one Michael Garibaldi fan on this
Yeah.
podcast, with Karen being 1A, tell me what you think about this episode and go all the way till let's go back. Let's wait. Let's go up to when we get the surprise reveal, or maybe it wasn't a surprise, that it was Sheridan who was coming in that strange ship.
So this storyline is going down a road that I was afraid that it was going to go down, and they've turned him into a sleeper agent because we saw that computer doing some sort of programming to him before he was rescued. And because we've seen so many storylines where this has happened, the blind acceptance of the circumstances of his rescue puzzled me. The fact that ship self-destructed and they ejected Garibaldi, that you would think somebody would say, that seems fishy. It's like they deliberately wanted us to get him. It just, that didn't sit well with me at all. But whether maybe they're going to question it in later episodes now that Sheridan's back, and hopefully their attention is going to be a little less laser focused on one person and get back to the job of the day mindset. But I did like Garibaldi's questioning of Lorien and his purpose. I thought that was totally within character. But now you're wondering, was that just Garibaldi, or is that Garibaldi and his programming? Is he trying to find out who this guy is because the shadows are after this guy? It's intimated when Sheridan's on the planet with Lorien. It's good to have him back, but again, there's just no, like, the other characters just we haven't seen any scenes with them reacting to his return and saying, God, it's great to have you back and we missed you and blah blah blah. That's all been skipped over, and it just disconnects me a little bit from the show that they're treating one character a certain way and another character they're just saying, oh yeah, he's back, that's great, let's move on. So I'm just a little bummed out by there's moments where the show could make these emotional connections, and I think they're missed opportunities. Now I realize that you have only so much time real estate with each episode to do that, but I would think that they could have streamlined maybe like the setup scene with sending Marcus with Susan. That could have been trimmed down quite a bit, and maybe just to give a couple of scenes of other crew members interacting with Garibaldi, visiting him in the sick bay. Besides Zack, I don't think anybody else was shown, and even the doctor didn't really have much of a interplay with him at all. There was just really nothing. So I'm just bummed out by the way they're treating that character, and he's just not getting his due. And I'm not trying to put him as the star or anything. If it was another character, even a minor character, Lanier or somebody like that had been in that kind of situation and come back, I just think there should be showing these connections between all the characters, and the show doesn't seem to do that very in a consistent manner.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Sheridan gets a big hug from Susan, and we see that. And except for Zack, like Lou was saying, Zack is keeping the faith when it comes to his boss, and he's genuinely thrilled to see him back. I am also hoping that something happens and we can maybe get an inkling before Garibaldi does something. That I don't remember whether they could detect the sleeper agent inside of, and I can't remember, Talia
Yeah.
or
was
not.
Talia.
Also, I think it's funny that they were married in real life. It was Talia and him, right?
Yes, it
And they're
was.
both in the same situation. And I'm just assuming, but I think that he's probably been programmed in some way. I'm hoping that they detect it, but I don't know. The way they treat him, I am very worried that they're going to use him in a way that I don't like. And I love that he's back. I think the scenes that he got in this episode were all good. When he's talking to Zack and he's surprised it's been so long that he's been gone. He says he doesn't remember anything. I'm hoping that line changes as well, because we know that he's at least getting flashes of some of the things that happened. There's that. And then I do love the in character moment where who's this guy during the meeting? Who's this guy hearing all our strategies and all that? And even then, Sheridan totally disrespects him. He says, "You don't need to know." Okay. He does need to know, though. He's security. He has every right to ask who this guy is that's on the ship. So there was a lot of mistreatment of him in this episode.
So I did not feel that, and watching this again, I did not feel like this was in character for Michael being that suspicious that quickly, and listening to you both go realize that I was wrong. And so thank you for that. I agree. I think now then that does come across.
He does. He should know
Yeah,
aliens,
exactly.
especially
Yeah,
someone who's sitting in on their meeting.
And especially for the longest time, they kept Jakar out of it, right?
Right.
Because they didn't. This was so. Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. That now I had not thought of that, so I'm glad for that.
And it would have been
Go
nice
ahead.
if somebody else would have stepped in and taken Garibaldi's
Yeah, and
side
said,
too. Like
"Hey,
everybody else is, hey, cool.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Come in, jump in the pool."
Maybe they're in just shock that Sheridan is back.
Mhm.
And it looks like he hasn't really explained who Lorian is to anyone,
No,
right?
it's like you don't need to know. It's on a need to know basis, and you don't need to know, right?
Yep, exactly.
I did think that my only thought is there was no one in the station to visit Garibaldi at the hospital, because Susan and Marcus are
still gone. Okay.
Yeah, they were still gone. John had not come back yet. Franklin does say it's some good news finally.
Right.
He does talk about that. So there is a little bit. I agree with you. It would have been nice to see Franklin on his bedside going, "It is good to see you.
Right.
We were worried about you."
And
because they have that bond with the addiction. Yeah.
They're close.
Yeah. And Lanier, I would find that odd that he would have gone with everything else going on. And Delenn, who I guess because B5 is no longer part of Earth, they're now a ranger organization. So she co-leads the Rangers. That's why she's running everything.
Right.
Though I did think that a little weird, that I wonder if there's anyone that used to be in the Earth Force going, "Why are we talking to her?
Why is she in charge?" Yeah.
So
I mean, since I thought, why is she in charge? I can't imagine what they would have thought.
Yeah. So
and I feel like that meeting, it's the first time they're seeing Garibaldi, right?
Yeah.
He's showing up at the meeting. Why don't they give him a hug and say,
"Yeah,
we're so glad to see you." Oh, hi, Lou.
Nice.
Yay.
Yeah. So I'm disappointed.
We normally don't see your green screen.
I know, but I can't. That's why I can't get the plug-in to work.
Okay. Yeah. I think all of that is fair. So I'm saving the stuff on Centauri Prime as last. I think that's where a lot of the meat of the episode was, though the other stuff was good too. I was wondering, all right, so I did love the line where Garibaldi is well enough that he shaves, puts on a uniform, and then goes, which I think that's a slight hand wave that when the alarm goes off, he has time to do all that. It would have maybe looked a little better if he had still been unshaven at least, But I love his line to Zack, and I'm thinking, you don't have enough people to put me back. I thought that was very in character, right? Like he's smart enough to know that they can't spare the people. And oh, by the way, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be there. This is still my station. All right. When I watched all the security staring at the ship coming in, did you know who it was?
I assumed
Karen.
it was
Okay.
John. Who else would it be? Unless it's someone bad.
Yeah.
It could be the Psychor, but that would be really loading up this episode. I assumed he was back.
All right. And how about you?
Although I feel like they brushed over a lot of stuff.
Yeah. How about you, Lou? Did you know who it was?
Yeah, who else could it be, really, based
Okay.
on the story we've been seeing so far?
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty.
When I watched it, and if you rewatch it, it's very clearly Lauren and John's shadows are in the ship. When they
Okay.
show the ship rounding, you look in it, you can tell that it's Lauren's profile or face.
Okay. So they
Yeah, so
foreshadowed it.
Yeah, I was like,
Literally
okay,
foreshadowed.
yeah, exactly. So so we had known what John was sharing, but the other team members didn't. They did not know the purpose of the shadows and the Vorlons. So I thought it was good he did that debrief and explained to everyone. And do you feel the deliberately they were trying to amp up the tension with everything going at the same time? You've got the crowd, the Lanier saying, oh, it looks like it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. You have the crowd, everyone yelling at each other. Delenn, you're just living with your grief and everything. And then it was a pretty good moment, not as good as the Giles moment where I don't think anyone could stop me. And he says, I'll question that assumption. But I thought it was a pretty good reveal. So, Lou, let's talk about all the tension going up. Did you think it was effective? And what do you think of John's reveal and say, as you guys made fun of, I was dead, but I got better?
Yeah. In my mind, maybe I think I mentioned this in the last episode, or maybe it was the previous one, that I was expecting John's return to be a big deal because they kept emphasizing that nobody's ever returned from Zadoon. And to have him come back should have been like Jesus walking on the water kind of moment. And I don't think they pulled it off. It was really undercut by his response to, we thought you were dead. He says, I was, but I'm better now. I'm going like, death is not like a sickness. You don't recover from dead.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a very clunky line. And it really killed the whole scene for me. But it's not Bruce Boxleitner's fault. He played the scene to the best of his ability. And after they got past that pretty clunky moment, and I'm curious, Jesse, is that a common complaint about that scene, that line, or does nobody even blink an eye at that line? I just thought it was really clunky. I kept on thinking of Monty Python. I'm not dead yet. I'm feeling much better.
I thought of the Princess Bride. He's mostly dead. If it was all the way dead, it would be, but he's only mostly dead.
Yeah.
No, once again, because I have foreknowledge, if you notice, he looks over at Lorian when he says, I got better or something. And they share a glance. That will, I'm hanging a lantern. That's important later.
Okay.
But
yeah. And again, that line might have played better back when it first aired, but I think we've seen so much more media now, and the bar has been raised on a lot of things, including dialogue. So that moment just really took me out of the scene, and I won't talk about it anymore. But the rest of his speech was okay, but I thought his goal of building a fleet that's going to change the universe, I'm going, okay, like, where are we going to get all the resources to do this kind of thing? So that was interesting as well. And I don't know why they need to change the shape of the universe. They just need to beat the shadows, and who knows, maybe they have to beat the Vorlons too now. I'm not sure. That seemed a little misplaced as well. And I think this is a scene that will probably play a lot differently once I've seen the arc of the show. But at this moment, it just, again, it just seems unnecessarily clunky to me. And
All right.
yeah, and it underscores again the whole thing about Sheridan gets treated like this messiah, whatever,
Yeah.
and poor Garibaldi's who?
He definitely is this Christ figure.
Yeah.
Though not as much as Jakar. I think Jakar is definitely, they have that as we'll get to that. All right, Karen.
That whole scene in the Zocalo where Delenn goes to see them all assembled and having their dissenters meeting.
Yeah.
I expected this would be where Sheridan would come back. Just because they didn't show him getting off the ship, this has to be where he comes back.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, he's really going to mess up this dude's speech. I thought maybe he would come through the crowd and there would be like this rumbling of people like, oh my God, he's that kind of thing. But him showing up on that little parapet was, I think, pretty effective. I am still troubled by the fact that we don't know what went on. I'm hoping they do a backfill of that for us. They just skipped from him talking with Lorian down in that cave to I'm back. And I like that him showing up actually changed the minds of everyone. I think that's a good development. It's an easy way for them to do that. Yeah, I thought it was effective, probably more so than Lou after hearing Lou. But again, I'm a Bruce fan, so seeing him waltz back in there was cool. And I do like how he treated his death. Oh, come on. It's not a big deal. I'm back. And I think that it's him coming back from Zahadum that actually spurs them into helping him. So I think it's implied that that's why I'm guessing that he has actually come back from this planet. He must have some kind of abilities. I felt that was interesting. I did like the humor in it, and I also liked Delenn racing up there to give him a hug and all that. I think it would have been inappropriate for them to share a passionate kiss or whatever, but I do like that they put their heads up against each other. It's very cute, and her saying, "I thought you were dead."
Yeah, I got better. The reports of my death have been exaggerated. Yeah, I thought that his speech was good. I thought it was, as I said, I was happy with the surprise reveal. And it was, yes, it was perfect timing when they said no one comes back from Zahadun. And,
right. And then,
yeah. And that's what I said. That's why I would have done different. I would have said, I have a thought on that or something else.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Until now.
Oh, until now, that would have been good.
Yeah.
And I also like that he says he makes comparison to the 1,000 years between the last war and this one. And he says, not just for 1,000 years, but forever. And I thought that was a good little note.
I'm wondering now, because Jesse put a pin in it, if John is somehow tied to Lorian, that he's only alive as long as he's in proximity to Lorian. Is that why Lorian's on the station? That's
interesting. And is that why he was in the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And is that why he doesn't want to say anything about
it? Exactly. Yeah.
Nice theory. I like that. Good. Okay.
Luke always putting stuff in my head.
Yeah. I like that. All right. Is there anything else we need to do to cover before we go to Centauri Prime?
No, I think that's it for me.
Okay. All right. There's a party going on, and it wasn't on the schedule. And the royal court is just having fun, torturing Jakar, but he won't scream. He won't show any audible versions of pain. And that has made our mad emperor even madder. My notes were emperor is mad in both ways. And I thought the scene where his hands are bloody and he barely washes the blood off and in pain technicians was just really well done. And we get a torture scene And finally, Jakar does scream and surprise right before the 40th lash. So, Lou, what are your thoughts about anything that happened on Centauri Prime?
This was my favorite part of the episode. These scenes, I also thought they were the strongest. And Jakar is just continuing to shine as a character. His moral fortitude and courage and his unwillingness to be broken are just to be admired. And I just think that he's turned into because the way the show's structured, I think he's my favorite character because I think he's getting proper treatment, and I just like he's just on a path that he's not wavering from, and his unwillingness to provide the emperor and his entourage with any sort of pleasure is just totally in line with that character. Those scenes were actually made me cringe inside to see them, and especially in times like this where people are so quick to criticize each other. It's just a step away from something like what's going on with Jakar. That's the path that I'm afraid that society in general is heading towards, and it worries me. And scenes like this just strike at my heart. I just don't like seeing torture scenes like that, especially just when it's for the amusement of the people around them. It really bothers me to see stuff like that, which is weird because I can watch like the most bloodiest horror movie and that doesn't really bother me too much, though I never did like the Saw movies for that very reason. I just don't like that kind of gratuitous violence or
torture
hostile
porn.
Yeah, torture porn. That's just not my bag. And it's a good way to hold up a mirror to Londo to realize how bad things have become for the Centauris in general. I treat the Emperor as an avatar for the race, the Centauri race. It might not be fair, but it's the old absolute power corrupts absolutely mantra, and we're seeing that here. Again, the Emperor was great in his scenes. I really like how he's chewing up the scenery. They went a little overboard with the blood, in my opinion. Like when he was washing his hands out in the garden, I thought that was a little too much. But yeah, and then it's forcing politics makes for strange bedfellows. So you got Londo and Jakar trying to work together. And even though Jakar finally capitulates and screams, he still makes a point of doing it only after he's received the 40th lash, which the Emperor says nobody's ever survived before. Yeah, this is strong stuff, and it's just working. It's just playing out beautifully, and even Veer has been affected by the Emperor's behaviors. Yeah, it's just this part of the episode just really rocks it. This part of the storyline, I should say, for this season. And I'm just curious to how many more episodes they're going to drag this whole thing out for.
Karen.
Yeah, I think this was the most well-written part of the episode. I think we got a lot of character beats in it, and it rounded out the episode to be a fuller thing. I don't want to say it like this, but I'll say I'm okay with torture scenes. I don't love it, but I get why it had to be done. In this case, I think the point of how bloody it was to finally get Veer to turn that switch in his head to say, yeah, we got to kill this guy. I don't think Veer would have been on board with it otherwise. And I really appreciated the scene where he's getting the electro whip lashes, especially when Veer and Londo are standing there and Londo is mouthing scream to him. He's mouthing scream to scream, like he's being hurt almost as much. And I feel like that kind of it's solidifying their bond in this case where they have to depend on each other. And Londo is making it clear this isn't just because I need you. I don't want you to die. He doesn't like to see Jakar suffering. And again, it advances his character a little bit. It advances Veer's character a little bit. And we also see more of Jakar's unwillingness to bend. And I think that screaming really hurt him more than the torture. because that undermines who he is. It makes him be someone else. It exposes a weakness. And I think it's only because he had to, because he realizes if he doesn't, this guy probably won't get his due. And it also gives us a little more Cartagia, where he's not just a crazy king, he's also a sadist in the strictest sense of the word. And to see him just revel in someone's pain, it really does affect you a little bit when you watch it. There's a saying where every argument on the internet ends with someone comparing someone to Hitler. So I hate to go there, but I feel like he's the Hitler in this situation. He wants the Narn gone, all gone, completely exterminated, everything. And he loves seeing Jakar in pain. He wants to hear him scream because he realizes having a Narn scream, that's a big deal. So it really does give you a lot of information about him. I am also using him as the baseline for their race because I feel like they would hop on board that train easily. Hey, I want to get rid of Narn. They would all be like, okay, let's do it. So that whole sequence, those whole sequences on Centauri Prime gave us so much information. And like we always say, it was show, not tell, and it was show in a visceral way. And it just illustrated things to the nth degree for me. It gave us insight to every character. And that scene where he's washing the blood off his hands. First of all, I was thinking, what are they doing back on Babylon 5? Because it looked like the atrium to me on Babylon 5, which it probably was the same set. I don't know. But
Yeah.
to see
Redressed,
him
maybe.
doing that, right. And how you could see Londo was holding back, but he was shocked by how Cartagia was behaving. So it was very impactful and also just a lot of information. And I like how that story is progressing. We're only 3 episodes in to this, and we've really only got the torture in 2 episodes. So I'm hoping that they wrap this up in the next couple of episodes at the very least, because I don't like seeing Jakar tortured, but I do think it was a necessary beat to get everyone on board with getting rid of Cartagia.
Yeah, I loved Stephen First. Oh, I've never been, he's so Veer, right?
Yeah.
Like I've never been involved with conspiracy. And
Yeah.
then there needs to be another way. And then after he sees my pain technicians, oh, we used to call them torturers. And I just, a little scream, a whimper, just this little, and then Veer to go, okay, yes, we need to kill him.
Yeah.
I thought,
funny in a
yeah.
macabre
Yes.
way.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier that as busy as Stravinsky was in writing, when Andreas and Peter would be doing scenes together, he would always want to go watch them because they are amazing.
Yeah.
And
I
I
agree.
love that, as Lou said, politics makes strange bedfellows. And I do agree when Londo says, I do know what this is costing you.
Mm-hmm.
I do understand this. In my way, I would be the same way. I would love the idea of when he tells Veer, it is bothering me, much to my shame and much to my, I wish it wouldn't. Somehow these two have connected in a way that you would have never seen coming. And I will tell you, if you guys ever rewatch the series, seeing that dance makes it even more exciting because you know what's coming. And you're like, wow, you never would have pictured this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. So powerful. And Katarsia is just thrilled when he screams. Yes, finally. Oh, yes.
He's where we discussed the double entendre in the earlier
Yeah.
dialogue. I feel like this was his finish.
Yeah.
If
It
if
was.
that makes yeah.
It does. And all the little snivelly people in court that now all have short hair because that's, as we know, behind scenes, JMS is like, okay, I'm tired of the big hair. See, timely-wimely, he knew that Lou was going to have a problem 20 years later.
That's right.
And so therefore he retroactively went back and changed.
Yeah.
But they're, oh, do you want some water? All you have to do is ask. All you have to do is ask.
Oh
I
man,
also
and he
wonder,
pours when he pours it out.
yeah.
Oh, I was so angry at him.
And I wonder also, I always like, is Londo able to sneak in something when he's in the jail to give him?
Doesn't seem likely.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. Yeah, I just loved in behind
I
the
keep worrying
scenes.
that there's bugs in there.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, out in the gardens too, I thought.
Yeah. What they said in the behind the scenes is they had set where the guy is lashing, it's on the other side of the actor with the angle. It looks like you're hitting him, but he was hitting something
Hitting
else.
air. Yeah, or
The
something,
actual
yeah.
a pad,
Oh, okay.
so that he actually could put his whole force into hitting that pad.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so that's one of the reasons why it looks so forceful.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought incredibly disturbing. And to have it 1, 2, and
Mhm.
great job of cutting back and forth, of
Yep.
editing, where you
Yep.
see them hurting.
And Andreas with that acting,
Oh, yes.
crazy good.
Yeah, absolutely. But I am worried that things are going to get worse before they get better for our friends in Centauri Prime, because I do not see Mr. Emperor getting any saner.
No.
All right. Any
And
other?
even though he said just one scream, once you get that, you want
Yeah.
more.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, it's not gonna let up just because he got a scream.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else we need to discuss? Anything I've forgotten on the podcast? Let me look at my notes. I think we covered everything. Do you guys had anything else? You guys
I
can
know
think
there
of?
are some people who have mentioned that Kosh was doing this, Kosh was doing that.
Yeah.
When I talk about how awful Kosh is, but I gotta say,
Yeah.
I really do feel vindicated.
Yes, you
I
should.
really do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. The Vorlons have destroyed a planet. Sheridan says he's got a plan. And as Karen reminded, we're only 3 episodes into this season. All right. By the way, 40 lashes, I think very biblical as
Yep.
well.
Yep,
40
yep.
is a very important number in the Bible.
Mhm.
I think it's time to rate. Lou, what do you got?
I'll give this 7.5 40-year-old virgins.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little higher. I would give it 8.5 lashes.
Okay.
How
Yeah,
about you, Jesse?
I'm gonna go 8.5, not dead yet.
Okay.
References.
We didn't give
Uh,
Garibaldi any mention at the end here either. That
Yeah.
was rude of us.
It was.
I'll
Yes,
give it
Garibaldi.
8.5. Who's this guy?
Yeah, who's this guy?
Yeah.
It is good to see Michael back. It is good to see him there, and we'll see what happens next.
I'd give him
By
a
the
high.
way, as I said we were going to do, I wish I'd done this from the beginning. The P5 rating on Lurker's Guide to Babylon 5 is an 8.66.
Okay.
We're probably about an average 7.89 or something, with the 7.5 and 8.5, maybe
Sure.
an 8. So there. All right. So very good. Next week, we're going to be talking Falling Toward Apotheosis. Apotheosis, Aphotheosis.
Apotheosis.
Yeah, apotheosis. But we got some feedback, didn't we, Karen?
We did.
3.
Let me get there. Okay, let me read David's first. Hi, all. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Even you, Lou. So we open with
Thanks.
an amusing little interlude. Susan wants to try and find more of the first ones for the battle ahead. She wants to take a White Star out and try to find them. She has taken Marcus's advice and has started learning Minbari. However, it quickly appears she has a long way to go. So Delenn offers Marcus to go as a translator, which he quickly accepts for some odd reason. By the way, I have a serious problem with military-wise with this. I get why Ivanova is going on the search. She was the one withdrawal after all. But now she's the CO of B5 right before the Rangers, and whatever other ships attack Zahadum. Her place is at the station, not out on what may be a wild goose chase. And exactly why did she leave Delenn in charge? Hasn't she appointed someone to be her second in command? Yeah, that's what I say, right?
Yeah.
And we close out the intro with a short scene where we see how the Centauri royal court is using Jakar for entertainment. And he puts that in quotes. It's disturbing to both Londo and Veer to see Jakar treated so sadistically. One thing noticed by another first-time reactor is that Jakar's situation is comparable to Jesus's persecution before crucifixion. Something to think about. After the credits, we see Londo and Veer discussing their plan. Veer appears to be getting cold feet about the idea when they are interrupted by Cartagia, his hands covered in blood, bemoaning the fact that you can't get good help these days, that if you want a job done right, you have to do it yourself. Note that even after he washes his hands, they are still stained with Jakar's blood. This steals Veer's resolve. Cartagia must die. Let me skip ahead a little bit. We go
Yes,
back
by
to
the way, yeah, we read the whole emails, but we try to, for time, some guys. So
Right.
you could be as long as you want. Just understand we all read them.
Back to the first one, Serge, Marcus, and Ivanova have a nice moment where they talk about what they want after the war. Marcus makes a surprising revelation. Yes, exactly. I got the feeling Susan was somewhat dumbfounded by that, but the discussion gets cut off by an oddity in hyperspace. They go check it out, and soon they find thousands of Vorlon ships of assorted sizes, including some as big as B5. Is that what Lita was afraid of? Is Susan that oblivious? We go back to Centauri Prime. Londo and Veer are awakened and taken to Cartagia's inner sanctum. Cartagia has got to hear Jakar scream, so he has him tied to a post and then starts having him whipped until he screams. Jakar holds out till the 39th lash, then screams before passing out. I particularly like that Londo was trying to tell Jakar to scream. Veer looked like he was about to throw up. By the way, that's the third biblical Jesus reference in this episode, if you are keeping track. Sheridan, he talks a little bit about Delenn meeting with the ambassadors and the meeting, that it quickly goes sideways. An ambassador is explaining that no one has ever come back from Zahadum alive. A fight breaks out, and in walks a nicely cleaned and coiffed John Sheridan, torn blouse and missing command badge. After curtly dismissing the ambassadors with I got better, he addresses the crowd, quickly winning them over. Sheridan and Delenn's reunion is cut short by a meeting of the War Council, including Lorien. Sheridan explains what he learned on Zahadum, and Susan drops a bombshell. They track the Vorlons to a sector of space with the Shadow Outpost, and now it's gone. No, not the outpost, the whole planet. Even Lorien appeared shocked by this development. Lita adds what she got from okay, I'm sorry. Kosh Vader, he says. Okay, that's amazing, David.
Yes.
What she got from Kosh Vader was while he was abusing her. The Vorlons are going to destroy any world touched by the shadows. Question: what does this revelation mean for B5? Are they going to try and take on both the shadows and Vorlons? What does this mean for Centauri Prime and Earth? We've seen the shadows be involved in both worlds. Guess we find out next week, and find out that Andreas Katsoulis didn't actually have to be in the scene to upstage Peter Jurassic. Yes, that's true. So thank you, David. Awesome email.
Thank you, David. Awesome.
And here's one from Nathan. Nathan says, hey guys, Londo and Jakar dynamic continues to be the most striking part of the show. And I would have never thought that watching a guy counts at 40 would have been so gripping and hard to watch. I love how all four actors are just chewing scenery in the episode. Over the years, I've seen pretty much a consensus that Delenn and Ivanova are grief-stricken and their plan is terrible. However, I disagree. What younger races know to date was that the shadows were defeated repeatedly and went away before returning. They don't know the information Sheridan was given. So an objective in this war is to do as much damage to the shadows as possible, which might include an attack on their main base when they are down after a massive blast that crippled them. The only two real objections would be the cost of an attack on a fortified location, the same apprehension Centauri had regarding the Narn homeworld, or existence of an equivalent of a cosmic nuclear weapon, which shadows haven't demonstrated to date, even though they were defeated multiple times. All they had were their ships. So hitting them while they are down is actually not that bad of an idea, in my opinion. It's the same type of action as the previous big battle with the shadows at the place where they were going to strike refugees. It's the League's fear of any active actions and indecision when it comes to committing to war, which is already going much less adequate than what Delenn proposes. Oh, and fake outs with an unknown ship going through hyperspace and docking on Babylon 5 are stupid. Everyone knows it's John. With regards, Nathan. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Nathan. We
Good
appreciate
point.
it.
We did
Yes,
know it was him.
absolutely. And by the way, Nathan got this in at 3:40 in the morning, early this morning, so it was not as close. I was able to, I didn't see it till this morning, but we got it in plenty of time. So thank you, Nathan.
Awesome. I don't care. I
Yeah.
like that we get them.
Yeah,
I don't
it.
read them
Yes.
anyway. I read them after the fact, but I don't read them
Yeah.
before we talk. So as long as Jesse can forward them to me, that's plenty
Yes.
of time.
Yes.
All right. And now from, oh, this is also from Nathan. I'm sorry. Did we get one from Texas?
I might have double sent. We've got, did you get the one from Texas?
I didn't.
All right, I will read it.
Okay.
All right. So in this episode, we up the ante. Delenn wants to make a major all-or-nothing strike on Zahadun before the shadows regroup and begin again. She's given herself time to gather the forces needed, but it turns out she was already out of time, but we'll get there. Jakar is being put through the ringer, just as Londo said, but his refusal to scream. Recall back in season 1 when the assassin had the pain givers on him is frustrating Katarja, who eventually decides that if he does not scream, he will die. Again, Werther Krimmer just steals the show from his complaining about how their torturers get organized. Now you have to call them pain technicians, to demanding know why Veer's there and suddenly instantly forgetting about him. And in the process, he convinces Veer that he has to die. First, they have to keep Jakar alive long enough to put their plan into effect. Londo has to personally plead with him to scream to keep their plan from falling apart. When Jakar says he doesn't know what he's asking, Londo retorts that he does. These two have always been more alike than not. They're every bit as proud in their own ways. Jeff at B5 for the first time began marking the stations of the cross, this path that Jesus took on his way to the crucifixion, being humiliated, the crown of thorns, whipped with 40 strokes, save one, all so he can save the world. I thought that was a really interesting part. This is Jesse now, that as someone who converted to Catholicism, I've gone to the Stations of the Cross, and we are seeing a lot of biblical references to Jakar. All right, back to the letter. News of Delenn's plan stirs unrest among the League worlds. They try to put a stop to it by pulling together a mob. It seems like it's about to turn into a riot when suddenly Sheridan appears, telling them it can be done, and asks if they're willing to support him. Later, we start to finally find out what this is really all about. Basically, the Shadows and Vorlons couldn't get along and started fighting over their toys. Now the stakes have risen yet again. The Vorlons are on the move, and they're destroying entire planets to remove shadow influence. Why are they taking such a drastic step? We'll find out next time. And then what? If we lose, there is no then what. And if we win, what then? This is the Texas Alashok signing off in Valen's name. Thank you, Texas. We always appreciate your feedback. Keep them coming.
Very much.
Lou, anything over on our YouTube channel?
Yep, a couple of comments. I think the main one is that the man in the middle is Sheridan's equal and opposite, Justin. It was always a dumb riddle anyway. So, and I think the other one I like is FMSM Dog says, "Love the blooper reel."
Oh yeah, you notice you left in a bunch of stuff at the end of this last episode.
Yes, I did. I thought it was fun to have that where I misspoke, right?
Yep.
So that was good.
And that's it. Thanks
All right.
to everyone who sent in feedback.
Yes, very much. We appreciate it. I think that is it. We A few scheduling notes. We will record as normal next week, but the following week, the week of the 10th, I'm out of town, so we won't record on the 10th, but we'll be back to a schedule on the 17th. And because we love you guys so much, we will be recording Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Yeah.
Mostly because we'll be bored. At least that's my input.
Yes. All right. And Lou, if someone wants to find more of your fine work, how can they?
They can check out, obviously, YouTube and where Lou's reviews is, and you'll find our Babylon 5 reviews, as well as my writers' interviews and the Stephen King podcast and our JKL Media podcast, where we just finished 12 Monkeys. Go check that out. It's a fantastic series if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet. And it's only 4 seasons, so it's not too onerous to watch. And it's the smaller season model where they're like 10 to 12 episodes per season. So definitely check that out. And on Twitter or X, you can find me under Lou W. Sitzma.
All right, Karen.
Yeah, I want to say first up, I'm almost through Holly, so hopefully we'll have a Stephen King podcast coming up. Jesse wants to join us on that one as well. So I'm assuming we'll put it out on the JKL media feed also.
Absolutely.
And where you can find me, I am at Eleveria on the various social medias. That's ALEVERIA. And you can find me at my blog as well, alliesstuff.com.
And I am at Jesse Jackson DFW on the Twitter machine, aka X.
Oh, it's Twitter.
Yes.
Sorry.
I can't remember if I mentioned this last week, but I was able to talk to Travis Ritchie, the actor who played Inspector Spacetime on Community. That is available on Set Lusting Bruce. He has a new book out, and he was a very wonderful interview. And for those of you who follow, we got new Doctor Who this weekend. That is not something Lou cares about. But I was very excited to see David Tennant and Catherine Tate. And if you go to Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast, you can hear Charles and I and Nick talk about the episode this week. So if you're a Doctor Who fan, I hope you will check out Next Stop Everywhere as we talk about these Christmas specials and the return of Russell T Davies. All right, I think this is it. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving weekend, whether you celebrate or not. Come back next week where we continue our journey through Babylon 5. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, listeners. Everyone be safe, be kind, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.